The 1960s were a groundbreaking time for music, filled with creativity and iconic performances. Yet, many talented singers from that era, despite their contributions, have faded from memory. Their voices and stories shaped the sound of the 60s, but didn't stay in the spotlight. Today, we're revisiting 12 forgotten singers who deserve to be celebrated for their unique roles in one of music's most influential decades. Terry Kath. Chicago became one of the most innovative bands in the late 1960s and 70s, blending rock with jazz to create a signature sound. Their success owed much to their extraordinary guitarist and vocalist, Terry Kath. His contributions helped the band carve a unique place in music history. Songs like 25 or 6 to 4 showcased Chicago's distinctive style, with Kath delivering one of the most celebrated guitar roles in rock history. His mastery of the guitar was unmatched, combining technical brilliance with emotional intensity. Tracks like Make Me Smile also highlighted his raw, soulful voice, which added a rich layer to Chicago's dynamic sound. Even among legends, Kath stood out. Jimi Hendrix, widely regarded as one of the greatest guitarists, was known to admire Kath's talent. Sadly, Kath's life and career were cut short in 1978 due to a tragic accident. He was only 31, leaving behind a legacy of groundbreaking music that continues to inspire. Here comes our next singer, whose voice was magic. He was the heart of the Zombies, as well as the girls of his era. Colin Blunstone. The Zombies were one of the standout bands of the 1960s, blending intricate melodies with haunting harmonies. At the heart of their sound was their lead vocalist, Colin Blunstone, whose voice became synonymous with the band's biggest hits. Tracks like She's Not There and Time of the Season showcased Blunstone's ability to convey deep emotion through his smooth and expressive vocals. She's Not There, the band's debut single in 1964, quickly climbed the charts, reaching the top 10 in both the UK and the US. Time of the Season, released just before the band split in 1968, became one of their most iconic songs, cementing their place in music history. The Zombies' sophisticated sound and innovative arrangements influenced several other British bands, including the Kinks and the Hollies. Despite their critical acclaim, the group disbanded in 1968, leaving a legacy that would only grow stronger with time. Blunstone went on to release solo albums, starting with 1 Year in 1971, which featured the hit Say You Don't Mind. He also collaborated with the Alan Parsons Project, further showcasing his vocal range and versatility. Though he achieved moderate success as a solo artist, Blunstone's work with the Zombies remains unforgettable, a reminder of the magic he brought to the 60s music. Curious about who inspired the Beatles' iconic sound? Stay with us until the end to find out. But before that, let's see who shaped David Bowie's artistry. Scott Walker. The Walker Brothers brought a dynamic and orchestral sound to the 1960s music scene, and Scott Walker's rich baritone was at the heart of their success. Known for their lush arrangements and heartfelt lyrics, the group achieved international fame with hits like The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. Released in 1966, the song became a massive hit, reaching #1 in the UK and breaking into the top 20 in the US. Walker's deep, emotive voice gave the song its timeless appeal, making it a classic that still resonates today. Other hits like Make It Easy on Yourself showcased his ability to blend power with vulnerability, cementing his place as one of the most distinctive voices of the decade. Walker's vocal style left a lasting impact on many artists, including David Bowie, who cited him as a major influence. His ability to evoke raw emotion and innovative approach to music set him apart from his contemporaries. After the Walker brothers disbanded, Walker pursued a solo career that took a bold, experimental turn. Albums like Scott 4 and Tilt showcased his artistic evolution, moving into avant-garde and highly conceptual music. Scott Walker's legacy is one of artistic bravery, inspiring countless musicians to take risks and explore uncharted creative territory. Now comes a singer with one of the most versatile vocals. P.P. Arnold. The 1960s music scene was bursting with talent, and P.P. Arnold was one of its most versatile voices. Starting as a backing singer for Ike and Tina Turner, she quickly made a name for herself with her powerful voice and emotive performances. In 1966, Arnold moved to the UK and launched her solo career. Her rendition of The First Cut of the Deepest, written by Cat Stevens, became a massive hit. The song reached the top 20 in the UK and established Arnold as a rising star. Her ability to bring raw emotion to her songs set her apart and resonated with listeners. Arnold also worked closely with the Rolling Stones, contributing her vocals to some of their iconic tracks. Mick Jagger recognized her talent early on, helping her secure a contract with Immediate Records. Her collaborations with the Stones and other artists like Rod Stewart further influenced the sound of the era. After a period away from the spotlight, Arnold made a comeback and continues to perform and record music. In 2019, she released The New Adventures of P.P. Arnold, a critically acclaimed album that reminded fans of her timeless talent. P.P. Arnold remains a vital part of music history. What's your favorite song of hers? Type it in the comments. Now moving toward another amazing singer whose folk voice rocked the 1960s.
Someone else to stay with you for a time.
Beverly Bivens. Beverly Bivens was the voice behind We 5, a folk rock band that made waves in the 1960s. Her rich, emotive vocals helped the band stand out in a crowded music scene. Their biggest hit, You Were On My Mind, released in 1965, became a chart-topping success, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song's catchy melody and Beverly's soulful delivery earned the band a Grammy nomination and widespread acclaim. We 5's music combined folk traditions with modern rock influences, and Beverly's vocal style played a major role in their appeal. Her ability to blend warmth and strength in her singing made her one of the most unique voices of the time. Beyond their hit song, the band released a handful of other tracks, but none achieved the same level of success. Despite the band's growing popularity, Beverly chose to step away from the spotlight in the late 1960s. She married jazz musician Fred Marshall and decided to focus on her personal life. After leaving We 5, she didn't return to the music industry, choosing a quieter path away from fame. Though Beverly Bivens has stayed out of the public eye, her work with We 5 remains a memorable piece of 1960s music history. Her voice continues to resonate with fans of the era. Beverly Bivens chose a quiet life after her soulful success. But what about those who stayed in the game, shaping the music world? Meet Keith West, a voice that transformed London's sound. Keith West. Keith West was the lead vocalist of Tomorrow, a rock band that left a lasting mark on the London music scene of the 1960s. Formed in 1967, the band became a key player in the emerging psychedelic movement, experimenting with new sounds and innovative production techniques. Tomorrow's most notable track, My White Bicycle, became an anthem of the counterculture era. The song's dreamy lyrics and experimental arrangement captured the spirit of the time and influenced many other artists. Tomorrow was more than just a band. It was a showcase of talent. Guitarist Stevie Howe, who later joined Yes, was part of the group. Keith West's distinctive voice brought their life to their songs, blending perfectly with the band's trippy instrumentals. Despite their creative brilliance, Tomorrow struggled to gain commercial success. The band disbanded in 1968, leaving behind only one self-titled album. Keith West continued his career with solo projects, most notably releasing Excerpt from a Teenage Opera in 1967, which became a hit in the UK, reaching number 2 on the charts. However, the full album for the project was never completed due to funding issues. Afterward, Keith shifted away from the mainstream music scene. He worked in production and collaborated with other artists, but remained largely out of the spotlight. Keith West soared with My White Bicycle, but the upcoming singer redefined brilliance with Forever Changes, and it's hard to say whose legacy resonated louder. Arthur Lee. It was the charismatic and innovative frontman of the 1960s band Love, Arthur Lee. Formed in 1965, the group was a unique blend of rock, psychedelia, and folk. Love quickly became one of the most influential bands of their era, pushing boundaries with their sound and lyrics. In 1967, Love released Forever Changes, an album that is now regarded as one of the greatest records of all time. The album featured tracks like Alone Again and A House Is Not a Motel, combining orchestral arrangements with haunting lyrics. Despite its brilliance, the album initially struggled commercially, but gained recognition in later years as a masterpiece. Lee's songwriting and vision played a significant role in shaping the sound of Los Angeles rock during the 1960s. He was even credited as an influence by Jim Morrison of The Doors, who admired his creative approach to music and lyrics. Love's early work helped to set the stage for psychedelic rock, leaving a mark on many artists who followed. However, the band's success was short-lived. Personal differences and changing musical tastes led to Love's decline. While Lee continued to release music under the Love name and as a solo artist, he never recaptured the success of the 1960s. Arthur Lee remains a legendary yet underrated figure in rock history. Would you have loved to hear more from Arthur Lee? In the 1960s, there was a girl group who touched every person of his era. Can you guess it? Keep watching till the end.
Eyes and fingers drew me loving.
Tim Buckley. The late 1960s and early 70s were a time of musical experimentation, and Tim Buckley stood out as an artist who constantly pushed boundaries. Known for his wide vocal range and genre-defying sound, he was never content with staying in one musical style. Buckley's early albums, such as Goodbye and Hello, 1967, showcased his talent for blending folk with poetic lyrics. Songs like Once I Was and Pleasant Street revealed his ability to craft emotional and thought-provoking music. As his career progressed, Buckley did jazz, avant-garde, and even funk influences. Albums like Star Sailor highlighted his experimental side, with tracks like Song to the Siren becoming cult classics. His vocal ability, spanning over 5 octaves, inspired many artists. Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin has credited Buckley's style as a significant influence on his vocal techniques. Buckley's willingness to explore uncharted territory in his music paved the way for future generations of experimental artists. Tragically, Buckley passed away in 1975 at just 28 years old. Despite his short career, his music left a lasting impression, influencing countless musicians. Tim Buckley's work remains a timeless reminder of the power of creativity and innovation in music. Do you know what happens when soulful energy meets rock dynamism? We get Steve Marriott, a force that electrified the 1960s. Steve Marriott. Small Faces brought a fresh, energetic sound to the 1960s British music scene, and Steve Marriott's powerful vocals were at the core of their success. Known for his soulful voice and electric stage presence, Marriott became one of the era's most influential singers. The band gained widespread recognition with his hits like Itchy Coo Park, a song that perfectly captured the spirit of the 1960s. Released in 1967, it became a chart-topping single, blending sounds with Marriott's unmistakable voice. His vocal range and emotional delivery set Small Faces apart, making them one of the most memorable acts of their time. In 1969, Marriott co-founded Humble Pie, moving towards a heavier rock sound. This band showcased his versatility with hits like 30 Days in the Hole and I Don't Need No Doctor. His work with Humble Pie earned him respect from rock legends, including Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, who credited Marriott as his vocal inspiration. Marriott continued performing throughout his life, despite facing personal and professional challenges. Tragically, he passed away in a house fire in 1991, cutting short a career that had already left a lasting legacy. Steve Marriott's voice and charisma continue to influence musicians today, proving the timeless impact of his work. Up next, we have Linda Perhacs, a hidden gem whose ethereal sound transcended time.
Where are the people that live in the wind?
Linda Perhacs. Linda Perhacs emerged in the late 1960s as a unique voice in the psychedelic folk scene. Her debut album, Parallelograms, released in 1970, was a groundbreaking blend of folk, jazz, and ambient sounds. Despite its brilliance, the album went largely unnoticed at that time. Parallelograms stood out for its ethereal quality and innovative production. Songs like Chimicum Rain and the title track showcased Perhacs' ability to craft hauntingly beautiful melodies. The album's intricate arrangements and poetic lyrics created a dreamy atmosphere, earning it a cult following years later. Though overlooked during its initial release, Parallelograms gained recognition in the 1990s when it was rediscovered by a new generation of artists and fans. Musicians in folk and indie genres, such as Devendra Banhart and Joanna Newsom, have cited Perhacs as a major influence on their work. Her ethereal sound set the stage for the rise of modern psychedelic folk. After decades away from the music scene, Perhacs made a remarkable return in 2014 with The Soul of All Things Nature. The album reaffirmed her status as a visionary artist, proving her talent remains as captivating as ever. Linda Perhacs may have started as an overlooked artist, but her work continues to inspire and resonate deeply with listeners today. Now enters a British folk singer whose soulful voice and talent made her the most notable artist of her time.
Yes, I saw the ocean.
Beverly Martin. Beverly Martin was a key figure in the 1960s British folk scene, known for her soulful voice and thoughtful songwriting. Her talent brought her into collaborations with some of the most notable artists of her time, including Jimmy Page and Nick Drake. Martin's music career began in the mid-1960s, and she quickly gained attention for her work as a solo artist. In 1970, she joined forces with her husband, John Martin, to release the album Stormbringer, a blend of folk, blues, and jazz. Tracks like Go Out and Get It and Sweet Honesty showcased Beverly's vocal warmth and lyrical depth, earning critical acclaim. Her influence on the British folk scene was significant. Martin's unique blend of traditional, folk, and contemporary styles inspired many artists who followed, helping to shape the evolution of the genre. Her ability to connect deeply with listeners through her songs left a lasting impression on the music world. After stepping back from music for several years, Beverly returned in the 2000s with new material and live performances. Her 2014 album, The Phoenix and the Turtle, reaffirmed her enduring talent. Beverly Martin's contribution to folk music remained deeply appreciated, and her influence continues to resonate in the work of today's artists. Have you heard of her collaborations with other legends? Do let us know in the comments. Now moving towards our second last singer on the list, a singer who is also known for his extraordinary guitar skills and vocals. So finally, the wait is over. A girl group led by an iconic singer whose vocals were soothing and life-giving, and they influenced and inspired the Beatles.
That's when I fell for the leader of the pack.
Mary Weiss. The Shangri-Las were one of the most iconic girl groups of the 1960s, and Mary Weiss was their unforgettable lead singer. Her voice, raw and emotional, brought life to the group's dramatic songs. The Shangri-Las were known for their storytelling style, which stood out in hits like Leader of the Pack. Released in 1964, the song became a #1 hit in the United States. Its tale of teenage love and tragedy, paired with Weiss's gripping performance, captivated listeners. Other hits, such as Remember, Walking in the Sand, and Give Him a Great Big Kiss, showcased the group's flair for mixing emotion with melody. Their style influenced many artists, including the Beatles, who admired their ability to tell vivid stories through music. The group's mix of drama and pop created a template that inspired future generations of musicians. After the Shangri-Las disbanded in the late 1960s, Weiss stepped away from the music industry. She lived a quiet life, far removed from the spotlight, until her surprising return in 2007 with the solo album Dangerous Game. The album was praised for staying true to her roots while adopting a modern edge. From chart-topping hits to hidden gems, they shaped the music we still love today. Let's keep their legacies alive by revisiting their songs and sharing their stories. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys through music history.